All right, everyone, we start off today talking about how Biden is selling the U.S. out on trade again, on energy specifically, with regards to his tacit agreement with the Chinese, actually, on green energy quotas, things of that nature. Generally, they were effectively agreed upon between him and Jinping. The problem is multiple here. The first major issue is that China is known to skeeve on deals that it makes. So you look at, for instance, the Paris Climate Accords, etc. They're nowhere near any of their targets on anything that they've agreed to with regards to CO2 emissions, pollution in general, etc. In fact, basically the problem is the U.S. has made it difficult to do heavy industry in the U.S., and so all of it goes to China. U.S. investors still pocket a bunch of cash. They just build the factory over there, so it doesn't contribute to any of our statistics. So the U.S. cheats too, in other words, by outsourcing the labor, drying up, of course, an enormous number of potential middle and upper middle class jobs in the process. You do actually make good money, generally speaking, when you're working in the energy industry. If you're doing like engineering work and stuff, you typically make a pretty good salary. Plenty of Chinese people are employed in that sector, including in the United States. Every time they build a solar field, which takes up a bunch of land that should be fallow, much of it is in the eastern part of the United States. It requires clearing forest mainly, which is like, oh, we got rid of a bunch of CO2 absorbing trees and then put Chinese lithium and silicone everywhere, and that's really a step in the right direction for the world. China builds them 90% of the time. The labor at least comes from China. Biden's now selling us out even further. What this is going to do, this agreement, is reduce the United States output of fossil fuels and the necessitate the mass importation of largely Chinese so-called green energy. Where do you think the aluminum comes from that goes into the windmills? Not often from the United States. Where does the lithium for the batteries in the electric vehicles and stuff come from? Largely from China, some from North Korea, I believe, as well. Central Asia has a bunch of it, which is why you're probably going to see wars breaking out there in the next decade. It's going to shift from the Middle East to Central Asia, I think. It's going to be instead of the oil wars, it'll be the mineral wars, I suppose. That the main advantage the United States has in an increasingly populated world is we got lots of water lots of clean water available. A lot of countries are water poor, and the United States, and to an extent Russia, by the way, have huge advantages there. Just imagine being Canadian. Canadians will be sitting pretty, especially if the climate warms a little bit so that large swaths of the country are opened up for arable land. This deal won't be adhered to by China. They will absolutely not reduce their usage of coal, etc. They can make their own solar panels and make them cheap, and it moves us closer to effectively a centrally controlled energy industry and everything attendant to it. So what is the energy industry? It's more than, simply, hey, we found oil, we sucked it out of the ground and put it in a car. No. You have to refine things. There are a million different variants of petroleum products, and you refine them. You use them in every other application. It's effectively the underpinning of the entirety of your industrial sector. It's a huge proportion of your agricultural sector. It is literally part of everything. The move towards green energy, so-called again, and battery-powered cars and so forth will be devastating to U.S. agriculture. It'll drive the price of fuels that have to be used for farming up through the roof. I don't think that the heavy harvester that's used is probably going to end up being battery-powered. I mean, you can, but then you've also starved your grid for fuel while overstretching the grid, which is already having problems in many parts of the country anyway. Green energy at this point is useful, but it's also useless for the current applications that they're making. Trying to force people into electric vehicles has been a stupid idea the whole time. We've got plenty of oil, we got plenty of gas, etc. in the United States. I think that the worry is that the U.S. will be so energy independent, I guess that it'll cause diplomatic issues because the U.S. will no longer have to handshake with third world nations that hate us and despise human liberty. And if you want to have a fully globalized economy and sort of hold the dollar over everyone's head, you have to draw them into trade, and so the United States doesn't want to be too competitive. Yes, the government is actually holding back its own economy for diplomatic reasons in order to play nice with the other rogue regimes. rogue regimes like the Biden stewardship. Now, this deal, in the end, it'll be like the climate accords. China won't listen to it. It's willing to sign off on any agreement that you put before them as long as it'll hamstring the country that actually intends to adhere to the deal, whether it's trade, energy, currency manipulation, or anything else. China lopsidedly tariffs, for instance, foreign goods, while then bitching and complaining if the same is done to them in return. Did you notice? This is the tell for it, by the way, when we talk about the globalism of deals like this. This is America lastism, effectively. This is put the world before the country that you're paid to represent, effectively, and that's really the problem of the post-nation-state globalist model. Do you remember when Donald Trump decided to go gung-ho after China on trade deals and currency manipulation? Do you remember how livid people in Congress were over this? Now, why on earth would they be livid about balancing trade with a foreign country while complaining, well, it's not that you're not engaging in free market economics. This isn't free trade. Well, neither is paying hefty tariffs when you're trading with another nation. That's not free trade either. Is it a one-way street all of a sudden? My fellow capitalists. It's a bunch of socialism, basically. You remember how livid they were. Why did they get so angry, do you think? Is it because all of them have invested in companies that do heavy work with China? That's basically the reason why. Well, we got to play nice with them. We don't want to piss them off too much. Oh my God, Donald Trump will break the toys. Biden is playing the game like a good little bitch because he understands who his masters are, and they are post-nationalists. His puppeteers are not all in the United States, just to be clear. It's a total selling out. Selling us downriver. We have a huge amount of energy. We know that peak oil is a myth. The world is not going to end because you decide to build a power plant. We should be using more nuclear if we're going to beef up the centralized grid because, we can at least obtain some of our own uranium, and a lot of it comes from countries that are safely allies within the Western sphere, like Australia. Whereas instead they say, no, we're going to get our energy resources from a country that has been cheating on trade, threatening our allies, and has gone completely, and it's a literal self-professed communist nation. There was a time when we didn't negotiate with communists. That was a while ago now, wasn't it? It's one thing to do business with China. It's another thing to hamstring yourself in an energy deal that does damage to your own economy, while China will simply shrug its shoulders and ignore it and kick the can down the road. Oh yeah, we're really sorry we didn't meet our emissions goal. Yeah. We didn't meet our goal to put up more windmills. Really sorry about that. Yeah, we didn't meet our goal for lithium output or something to keep the price high, obviously. We're sorry that we throttled the lithium supply. We're sorry that we did this and that and the other thing. But in the end, no punishment is given. The U.S., other than under Donald Trump, the U.S. never does anything about it. It pussyfoots around the issue. It doesn't want the diplomatic problem. So summon the ambassador over to D.C., and they'll give him a strongly worded letter, and then they'll let the issue go until the next election year, basically. That's what happens. Biden knows what he's doing. By the way, he's not being a fool here. He's being evil. The handlers that are running the show for real know what they're doing. It's globalism. Globalism means putting your own nation behind other nations just for the sake of maintaining a trade network that could be radically altered to more easily favor your nation. There's no reason for the U.S. economy to have to suffer in order to do business with other economies. It's not necessary. It's possible for the nations of the world to actually have a free trade system. This takes you further away from it and establishes more centrality over the energy industry. Centrality currently maintained by a stewardship with totally bipolar messaging on the issue. So we're going to open up more gas and oil drill leases in this location, but we're shutting down Keystone XL. We're going to make a big swap for more and more green energy, but at the same time, we're going to build another strip mine to obtain, aluminum or something like that. It makes absolutely no sense. It's sort of like you're trying to butter the bread on both sides and not get your hands messy. It doesn't work too well now, does it? That's about all. Peace out.